Good afternoon, everyone. I'll declare this meeting of the Wastewater Treatment Plant and Landfill Joint Committee open. Today is the 16th of November. Just a reminder that we are being live streamed and please use your microphones when you are speaking. Apologies. I have one apology from Councillor Rush, and standing in for Councillor Rush is Councillor Laurie Foon. So welcome, Laurie. So I'll move that apology be accepted. Someone like to second that? All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Public forum, we have a request, and Michelle Wachowski is somewhere there? No. Who's? Okay, so did she tell us she was going to zoom in? Okay, she's not here. We will move on. Conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest? Being none. Any notification of extraordinary business? There's been no items notified. So confirmation of the minutes for the wastewater for the committee for the meeting on the 31st of August. I'll move them as a true and correct record for them. Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. We'll now move to. Okay. So we'll just hold that. Our Michelle is now online, so are you there? Are you there, Michelle? You're on mute at the moment, I think.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yep, we've got you. You have 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you. I'll get to it. Once again, thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to be part of these meetings. And so I just launched straight into it. I sent you all a copy of the report that we were going to speak to today. As the underfunded, mismanaged, battered and failing to cope Porirua wastewater treatment plant. And this is a snapshot of the last 10 years, 2009 to 2019, where the plant has been significantly non-compliant. So basically, we just wanted to give you what some of our research has revealed over the last 10 years, and this was before Veolia became the operator. So frequent discharges, plant malfunctions, lack of monitoring and sampling of Tutahi Bay Beach and environmental sampling, lack of and poor quality of operator management quarterly consent reporting, lack of data from effects of discharges, treatment of inflow is poor, often 6 to 8 months of non-compliance for effluent quality, sludge carryover issues and problems with balancing a sludge blanket, struggling clarifiers, blowers, aeration and poor UV treatment to treat wastewater effectively, broken discharge deflection wall and broken flow meters, which in 2021 they're still not repaired, hydraulic upgrades urgent but continually deferred, a collaborative agreement between Consent Authority and consent holder in Wellington Water Limited, who was at the time operator and manager of plant, was needed as consent was not fit for purpose, and action for application to authorise flow in excess of plant's ability to treat. Just some of the things that were occurring before Veolia came on board. So whilst we appreciate that any kind of review is being done into the treatment plant, we wanted to make it known to yourselves, as well as Rowley, Frost and Ravine, who are doing the review for this, that there's a bigger picture here. And as you can see from, have you all got a report there?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Yeah, so there's no point reading all of it. So you can see that there's been some major environmental sewage spills in the time frame from when Porirua City Council operated the plant and Wellington Water operated the plant. And just really important here for the upcoming reconsent, that as far back as 2014, the Consent Authority, Regional Council, was recommending a lot more quantitative data and better sampling, because the outcome of these assessments were critical in determining what process and infrastructure works are needed on site to ensure the plant met its limits for effluent quality. And given the performance of the plant, and this is when capacity infrastructure, now Wellington Water, and Porirua City Council must prioritise these assessments. Now, those kind of assessments didn't actually come about till another 4 years later, if not either 2018 or 2019. So, and then following through to 2019, when Veolia came along, there was an array of borrowed, repurposed blowers, clarifiers, now currently struggling, fourth clarifiers needed, aeration basin not processing effectively, and we all know the sludge problems with that. UV channel becoming blocked and needing regular cleaning, and when that happens, often raw sewage is discharged into the coastal marine area. Urgent UV and hydraulic upgrades continually deferred from 2017-18 to present day, as you would have seen in the report. So we have 4 questions which we would like answered, please. And that's basically better clarification on how data is being gathered for recreational beach sampling, stream sampling, and wastewater treatment sampling at Titahi Beach. Who are the parties involved with the sampling? How often is the sampling occurring in summer and winter? How is the data being collated and made available to the public? Because the Lawa site is too generic, and the public are constantly sending in OIA requests to access any meaningful data. Please also provide information on the number of UV cleans from 2018 to 2021. We have asked this in an OIA, but we did get quite a silly response to that. Please advise what cost Wellington City Council is now contributing to plant and network upgrades, given the percentage of the joint venture cost allocation is based on proportional flow, and the flow from the Wellington catchment has significantly increased, 40%, but only 27.6% is charged, we believe. Why is there an investigation of Veolia and their operation, a review that is taking place now, when for the majority of the consent period, Porirua City Council and Wellington Water have a track record more wanting of an independent review than Veolia, as we've just described? So, and then it goes down to, for the duration of the current consent, there has been significant mismanagement of underfunding of an asset which consent authority reports show has not protected the environment or the health and safety for people in Titahi Bay. And this is carried through also in the upcoming report for this meeting, which was provided by, I presume, Wellington Water. And that's it from us. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, as always. Mari, apologies from Mari, as I'm coming in from work and she wasn't able to get in.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Are there any questions of Michelle? Thank you, Michelle. Points noted. Sorry, Councillor Duncan.
It's not so much a question of Michelle as those questions that she poses. There will be time later for those answers to come back, I'd imagine.
Well, we will look at the request and we will answer the questions that require to be answered if we're able to answer them. You know, we've taken on board the criticism and there are some things that we can't answer. You can't turn the clock back. I just reassure Michelle, we've always have been assured that according to Michelle, it's not fit for purpose, it should be closed down and we go elsewhere. But in saying that, we have been assured by the experts that this unit, we accept there's been some errors, but we have been assured that this infrastructure is fit for purpose. But if you listen to Michelle, we might as well close down the doors and turn off everything else. But we will come back to you, Michelle. We thank you again for...
Ewan, can I please reply to that comment? Because
no,
this
you
is
can't. I'm not going to. No, I'm sorry.
You have framed it incorrectly. That report that we wrote was from consent authority reports from expert documentation. Okay, so please stop reframing it like it's just our words, because it's not. That was from 10 years of consent
okay, we appreciate it.
authority
Thank you,
reports.
Michelle.
Okay,
Thank you.
Please have that noted in the minutes.
Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Foon, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I'm pleased you can see me. Kia ora, Michelle. I'm interested in the data that you've got on Wellington because that's news to me, and I've asked that question before, or a similar one. So you're saying that 27% we've gone up to 40%, but we're only being charged for what we were using. Where have you got the data from? And yeah.
Thank you very much for asking those important questions, because if I was sitting around the council table, I probably would have asked those questions too. So the percentage and how they work out the flow rate is in a 2012 Consent Authority compliance report. So that's how they worked out how they would proportion by flow. And the 40% comes from a document which was written by Capacity Infrastructure in 2010 through to 2021. It is Capacity Infrastructure became Wellington Water, and in that, on page 21 of that report, it says that is now 40% of the catchment from Wellington is now coming through and flowing through into the network. So that's where I got those figures from. The 27.6% has been bandied around initially. That was on the minutes when we first started coming to the meetings, but has not been on. We can't find them. I think there was a report that was out by Porirua City Council about 3 years ago, and we got that figure from there. That might have changed by now, but as far as I know, they're still using that approximately 27%.
If I could just interrupt.
The 40% is definitely there in that report written by Capacity Infrastructure, 2010
interrupt
to
for a minute.
2021.
We do now have a flow meter on the situation, which accurately determines what the breakdown is. So there is a flow meter that has been added. I don't know how long ago it was. Sorry?
Is there inflow or outflow, Ewan?
Inflow, I think, is it? Yeah, inflow. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so there is.
Our report refers to the outflow meter.
Thank you. I'll take this up with Wellington Water just to double check that we're paying our way. I think that's a good question. We need to understand that.
Thank you, Laurie.
Kia ora.
Appreciate. Kia ora.
Okay, thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you.
Whilst I might get a bit short-tempered, probably, I am frustrated as you are, and I keep being assured that things are coming right, and then you keep reminding us that they're not. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kia ora.
Okay, I'm now going to advance to 6.3 because Colin is got a limited amount of time. So we'll move to is that the report that he wishes to speak to?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so 6.3, Colin, it's over to you. I'll move the item to put it on the table. I've got a second to the Mayor. So Colin, over to you. Sorry. Oh, sorry, you're not with me. Councillor Duncan, seen it. Thank you.
Can I just check that everybody can hear me all right? I'm in Porirua, which is directly west of you guys in the South Island. So can you hear me all right?
We can.
Yep, cool, okay. I was just going to make some introductory comments, if that's okay, and then the team are there to ask some questions. So to start off, I think it's important to recognise that we have three issues that tend to get conflated in this discussion. The first is that we have a wastewater treatment plant which discharges at Rangatani Point there. The second is that we have a wastewater network that heads to that plant that from time to time in heavy rain is unable to convey all of that wastewater to the plant, and so we end up with network overflows. Council has got plans to address those. But some of those network overflows occur in Titahi Bay, and they enter the stormwater system, and that goes out into the sea, where we have an ongoing issue around whether or not it's safe to swim. And it's really important when we're having chats about which particular topic we're on, because while the customers think about it as, can I swim in Titahi Bay, and it could be as a consequence of the outfall of the wastewater treatment plant or the networks themselves. It's good to try and work out what we're zeroing in on when we're discussing that. So I was going to just address the wastewater treatment plant performance as some introductory comments, and just before we do that, I was just going to give you the history of why did we enter into a regional wastewater treatment plant contract 2 years ago. And that was because you as one of the owners, or two of the owners, with Laurie on there as well, have asked us to extract the best value we can out of managing your assets for you. And in this particular case, we chose a 10-year performance model, a contract where we let one contract across the entire region, because the plants at Moa Point and Western and the plants at Seaview were coming out of a 25-year design build fund to operate period. And at Porirua, Wellington Water was managing that plant as in-house on council's behalf. And we pulled all of those into one contract to proceed. Why did we pull the Porirua one in? Because Wellington Water was struggling to operate the plant, a single plant, by own forces. We were struggling to manage the staff. We were having trouble with turnover. It was really hard to attract people into it, and we thought it was best value to put it into a regional contract where there was a much greater critical mass of resources, whereby we would not have those same issues. We attracted a couple of good bids for that contract, and Veolia at the end of the day were the winning contractor. They won because they said that they would put the environment first. They would bring international expertise, and I guess they would delight us across the board. And I guess the point of talking to you today is that's not really that hasn't really come about. And as a consequence of the August 19 sludge blanket overflow from the plant, which we believe was foreseeable, should have been avoidable, and should have been reported, was neither. And in comparison to some of the other events we've had at Porirua, the Porirua wastewater treatment plant, it broke the trust that we have with our partner out there. And so we were of the view we had no choice but to draw a line in the sand and undertake a review, which we communicated to the Porirua Council on. And I think Ewan's going to give you an update on that review as part of this conversation. As a consequence of announcing the review, the supplier of the Veolia has moved its contract manager on, the person who's responsible for all the sites, the person who drives the performance of the organisation and the culture of the people who are working there. And that person has moved on, and they've replaced that person with a very seasoned operator. And they've developed a 6-point plan to address some of the issues that we've had across the board, which we can talk about in some detail if you'd like. And lastly, as a consequence of the sludge blanket overflow, which I guess is the thing that's most on our minds, was driven by a high degree of sludge circulating in the process at Porirua plant, and that's a function of how the plant operates and how we dispose of it at the landfill. But in the meantime, our team and Porirua City Council team have worked hard to reduce that sludge blanket down to a manageable level, and therefore there's more headroom in the plant. And I guess, when people ask us, if you put it on review, how do you know that these problems aren't going to occur again? The main issue for us is to make sure that we've got the sludge under control, and Anna can confirm this, but my understanding is it's almost back to manageable levels now, which means that we have headroom should there be a large rainfall event. So, is it, if I understand right, Ewan, would the other Ewan give you an update on the review? Is that what would you like to do?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
Are you there, Ewan?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Also, there's a few updates. Sorry, my name is Ewan Stitt. I'm the Chief Advisor for Service Delivery in Wellington Water. Just to add to what Colin said and what's in the report, the review's been progressing for a couple of weeks now, and they've reviewed a whole wealth of documentation around the performance of the plants and the contract and Veolia's performance under it. We've also undertaken more than 25 interviews with Veolia, with Wellington Water staff, with council staff, Mana Whenua, community groups, including Michelle. And so there's a wealth of information there, and we're in the process now of trying to pull all those together and coalesce those into some really meaningful issues, and then we can come up with some recommendations from there. We're looking to develop an initial report to provide to the Wellington Water Board on the 20th of December, and we'll be socialising that report for council feedback through that process as well, with a view to adopting it in the new year and then really pushing into the implementation of the recommendations that are made. Were there any questions around the review? I'm more than happy to take those if that's acceptable, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Foon.
Kia ora, just checking that's Wellington City included in that report?
It will be, yes.
We'll receive a copy. Great. Kia ora.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a regional review, all the councils that are under that contract will be seeking feedback from.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Hayward.
Kia ora, mātua hia mana. Thank you to the officers for the preparation of the report. I actually just want to take a brief moment to actually thank the Chair and the staff of Wellington Water for providing in this report, and I understand for subsequent reports, far more detail on the asset management plan in terms of investment and repairs. Thank you. I hope that will be helpful to the general public as well going forward. Thank you, Colin, and thank you, Ewan, for attending. I just be mindful, I say this every time, my intention here is to ensure the public has a voice, we hold council officials accountable. This is not to be seen as critical of any individual. I have a few parts. Can I confirm that there haven't been any breaches up to this point of contract that were identified by Wellington Water with Veolia, and if there were, was the financial penalty invoked?
So can I just check I've got that question correctly? The contract allows for a if you breach certain conditions, we're allowed to exercise a fine on Veolia. And how many times have we done that? Is that the question?
Correct.
Yep. So just bear with me for a minute there, Councillor. This contract is a performance contract, and it relies on the assets being operable. So Wellington Water, on your behalf, looks out, has responsibility for the assets. And so one of the parts of the review we've asked the reviewers to focus on really carefully is that intersection point, because what has happened is we've had a number of failures where the asset has failed and then we've not met the requirements of the consent condition, which is ultimately sits with Wellington Water and therefore by the councils. Now, the argument about that is that we anticipated that Veolia would take a very foresightful asset management planning approach on our behalf, and we would avoid these failures and therefore not have the issues. But because they are happening, it creates an area of grey in the contract, which we're working through. And so while we were doing that, we put a moratorium on those fines unless there was willful misconduct by the operator. And since that work has been going on to improve that understanding of how the contract works, we have fined them twice, I think, Anna, is that right, for willful misconduct? In other words, if it's beyond that issue around the asset and in performance, if it's just something that was just really bad, we have fined them. And the reason we've put the moratorium on is to is to avoid a situation where the contractor just uses the contract to manipulate further misses on the consents by blaming the assets. And so that looks like an issue that needs to be resolved in the review, and we've got the reviewers fully focused on that. Did that answer your question, Councillor?
It does. I have another question. Can I get some detail on the 6-point plan, because I've never heard of that reference before, and I'd appreciate it if Wellington Water can give some detail about how this is actually what that will mean for the plant operations.
Well, I think if we could just package that up, Ewan, and send that to councillors, is that all right, from Veolia?
I'm happy with that.
Is Ewan there or not? I'm trying to...
Sorry, scrambling to unmute. Yes, absolutely. We can provide a bit more information on that review for the committee.
Okay.
Yeah, and Chairman, we've asked that 6-point plan to be folded into the review. So we can give you the 6-point plan, but it's better to bring it all into one place. So when the reviewers finalise their report, they'll have all of that information inside the final report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hayward, you have another question?
Yes, I do. And I may have a supplementary related to this one. Can I confirm that there is indeed a terms of reference with regard to this independent review?
Yeah, sure. We'll send that to you.
Can I understand that? So we haven't received it yet, and it hasn't been proactively released in the public either. Is there a reason why that hasn't happened?
No reason whatsoever. It's we've just gone about a professional way of engaging those two reviewers, and we're very more than happy to share the terms of reference.
Mr. Chair, in the absence of knowing what is in the terms of reference, I would like to just confirm, if we can now, just to confirm what the terms of reference. I'm not asking about what the reports results are. I don't think that's fair, but I do want to know about the terms of reference. Can I confirm then, will the terms of reference cover a timetable of certain events, such as when the sludge event on August 16 was identified by Wellington Water, when they understood that it was indeed confirmed that it was in breach of the consent, who at Wellington Water and when at Wellington Water they were made aware of that, when the board of Wellington Water was made aware of this, when the Wellington Water Committee was made aware of this, and whether, again, also when Greater Wellington Regional Council as the enforcement agency was made aware of this event as well.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the review has been commissioned by Wellington Water to advise Wellington Water and then our two owners on how to bring this contract back into line to meet the requirements we've set of it in terms of environmental performance and just professional operation of the plant. It's a looking forward review on the basis that we're unhappy. We've been very clear to our owners that with the status quo cannot continue, and so the reviewers will advise a path forward that will bring either the current contractor or the contractor back into action. If the councillor wants that information, that would be our job to give you that information. So if you just like to lay those requests out, I'm sure Anna can make a note of it and we'll give you all that information.
One last question, Mr. Chair. October 21 was the announcement of the independent review. October 26, I happened to get a press statement from Wellington Water, which actually was entitled, according to the Scoop article, Wellington Water apologises for not telling Newlands residents about burst main. Now, that was 5 days after the independent report. Why have we not had an apology in public from Wellington Water or Veolia for the issues that have affected 2 city councils at least, and the terms of reference may impact other parts of the region as well who are covered by Wellington Water?
I would have to check my records, but I'm fairly sure that we apologised to the council in the full council meeting. And then I've also, in a press article, we did the same, and in subsequent interviews, I think we've been fairly clear to the public that it wasn't good enough. Is there something more you'd like us to do?
I went back and checked that media statement that was released jointly with Porirua City Council. Didn't actually see it actually acknowledging that they an apology explicitly, but there's an explicit apology for the people of Newlands. I'm just trying to figure out when's Titahi Bay going to get their apology. Kia ora.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's probably just have to pack that into our lessons learned exercise. We had every intention to make it clear that it wasn't good enough and we were sorry.
I think.
Unfortunately, it's probably a bit late to do it now, I think.
Councillor Duncan.
Are we still discussing 6.3 in total?
Yeah, we are. No, we're. I moved the report. It's on the table. It's open for discussion.
I have a couple of questions.
That's fine. Then
Follows on from the review.
that's your opportunity now to say something.
Okay, great. Then the treatment plant consent application, page 21, item 29 says we're working with Te Runanga to Rangatira to reach agreement on terms of reference for the joint WWTP. Yeah. Is there a sticking point with the Runanga on this?
Someone like to answer?
Through the chair, Helmut Modlick is on the steering committee for the review, receiving feedback. So I think that's all it's referring to, isn't it? I'm on, for Porirua City Council, I'm on the steering group as well. So that I think it's acknowledging that the Runanga is involved. There's no particular, well, they have a, as you can imagine, the iwi have a particular view about sewage going into the harbour. You can imagine what that is, so yes.
Further question, page 22, White House Road sewer renewal. The main renewal program's been put on hold while further geotechnical investigations are undertaken. Can you explain the ground monitoring surveys that are going on? Because there's a whole lot of housing being, infill housing going in that area, and if it's slumping on the pipe, then that might suggest some slumping elsewhere.
Yeah, the reason for the ground monitoring is to determine the speed and the scale of that slumping. It's in a fairly small localised area, but just for the time being, the hold has been put on there to see if there is some other way of being able to renew that pipeline without disturbing the ground even more.
Later then on page 24, the risk profile says that everything's going nicely, and it makes no mention of the hold being put on that work.
Thank you for that, bringing it to attention. Sorry?
So, through the chair, I do have my colleague Mohammed on the line, so he is dialed into this meeting. He may have a response to that, so I'll just call on him to answer if he has one. He's
there somewhere, is he? Oh, yes, there he is. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Did you hear that question?
No, can you please, Mr. Chair, to repeat the question?
Yep. It's the White House Road sewer renewal program being put on hold because of geotechnical problems. But later in the work that you're carrying out on page 24, we're told that the risk assessment that that it's going along fine. Is it on hold? Is there a problem with the ground slumping? Can you advise us on that?
Yeah, there is a further investigation being carried out, around this project and the work required to be done. It's found that it's at the moment, if we carry on to do any work on this project, that will cause more disturbance to the ground layers. And the assessment result that the settlement in this organic or the layers underneath the pipe itself is not critical as being advised earlier. And there is now we are assessing other options to do the project in a more efficient way. So it is still under assessment.
So, Mohammed, can I just check with you? What you're saying is the councillor's question is correct. It's on hold while you're doing more investigations to design a better solution. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Councillor Duncan.
So on page 24, the capital projects update table, the discharge consent commentary says the current budget is 750,000. It's a shortfall of 373,000. How on earth can we get those numbers so wrong? I mean, that's 370,000 that we've got to find, isn't it?
What's the question there, Anna?
Repeat that question.
So on page 24 in the capital projects update table there, the discharge resource consent commentary says that the current budget forecast is 750,000. That's a shortfall of 373,000. Do these specialists just pull numbers out of the air and see if it gets through the
Can I just check in with my colleagues? Is that you're asking a question around the cost of reconsenting the plant? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
It was two through you, Mr. Chair. There was two other points I was going to make. One about the consenting and one about data collection. If that's all right, I might make the consenting one now, and maybe I could speak to the data one a bit later.
Go ahead.
So we put the consent on hold, the consent for reconsenting the plant, and the rationale for that is that the assumptions that we'd made around the performance of the plant, particularly around how the plant works with sludge, look to be erroneous from the previous work we've done. So and what we've observed at the plant. So that together with the review, we've put the consent on hold for 6 months, I think it is. And over that time, we're going to have to fine tune and get that information right so that we can apply for a new consent as best we possibly can. Unfortunately, that results in us needing to spend some additional money to get that right. And in terms of how we manage the CapEx program for Porirua City Council, that comes out of the total pool, which means we have to retime other projects to do that. But it's it's crucial that we get that absolutely right and spend that money.
Thank you.
Further down in the hydraulic upgrade, it says the risk of shipping delays may see equipment not arriving in the third quarter, and we're looking at air freighting. How big is the stuff that we're looking at air freighting?
It fits in a normal sort of size container. So the equipment itself only takes up about half the space of a normal sort of 40-foot container. So it will fit on air freight perfectly fine.
Sweet. The last one is the UV treatment up. Clarifier 3 shutdown was planned for mid-October, was rescheduled for the first week of November. Did that proceed?
That has not yet proceeded, no.
Councillor Leggett, your turn.
It's all a bit confusing now, isn't it? Thanks very much for the capital project update. The aeration manifold replacement, can you tell me what the approximate cost of this might be, and is it in the budget? Has it been budgeted? It doesn't appear on the capital projects.
I'll need to hand that back over to Mohammed.
Yeah, it's been budgeted for this financial year. The total budget, I just need to confirm on the number, but from the top of my head, it's around 1.8 million for that, and it is already budgeted.
So just a question, where is that on the project list? Sorry, the capital project update? Have I missed something, or?
Anna, is that a renewal? Is that what's going on there?
Yeah,
it's a replacement.
So there was already an aeration diffuser manifold there. So it may not have made upgrade, and so it may be that this is just the upgrade work rather than all of the work that we're currently doing on site.
No, I understand that. I just, if it's $1.8 million, it's quite significant, though.
We can
and it's CapEx?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe we can add that for next time, Anna.
Yeah, look, that's fine. I just wondered what.
Councillor Foon, you have a question?
Kia ora and thank you. And also, I do just want to really thank Wellington Water for the one pager. It really helps to understand when we're looking at it, all the projects on go and the status. So my question around that is back to the White House Road I think it's on page 24. The questions I have is, is that main going to be beneficial for the sewage overflows or into Titahi Bay? And then also 9 years seems like an excessively long time for this. So then the next question is, what is the reason for 9 years to be put on hold? And the third question is, have we done any thinking around dovetailing into the Three Waters, given that there's controversy, but actually by bringing these projects forward, there's a potential opportunity there to be first in line?
Like every other council in New Zealand. Who can answer that?
Mohammed, if you could answer, please.
In terms of the first part of the question, for the reason behind to put it back on delay on hold for 9 years, I can come on that with a more firm answer because it's more technical related thing and I need to know more about that from the project team. Would you please repeat the second part of the second question?
Yeah, the second one is, does the White House Road, just because it's not Mairohi, so, is that what is one of the major impactors on the sewage overflows into Titahi Bay? And then the third question was around the Three Waters opportunity by making sure that's a priority, just that it's in line for getting fixed up as early as possible, depending on which way those cards fall.
Yep. At the moment, there is the Three Water paper being under preparation, to have a decision from the Three Water Committee on that. And depends on the outcomes of the Three Water Committee decision on this project. Then we will have a clear guidance on how to proceed on this project. Perfect.
So just there's a bit of confusion there, Mohammed. Just for the councillors, Councillor Foon's asking about the broader Three Waters reform. I think you're referring to our internal decision-making structure, right? Which is the Three Waters decision-making. Yeah. Just so there's no confusion there. What I think you're saying is that the project itself is subject to a sign-off, internal sign-off before it proceeds. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And does that, and in terms of its...
Sorry?
Are you fine?
It's a question of timing on the work.
Okay. So then just can I be clear, is this one of the mains that's affecting the Titahi Bay overflow, the White House Road main?
No. The answer is no. Can I just, Colin, have you disappeared?
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I want to round this up by asking this question. With all the issues that we have in front of us that people keep bringing to our attention, and we're about to go for a resource consent eventually, is there any chance that the resource consent would not be granted because of the issues that appear to be continually happening? Or if we get the functioning right, will a resource consent be granted?
I think the way you've just presented that is exactly the right way to think about it. We're holding the contract under review, and then we expect to complete that by Christmas, and then make changes in the new year. Understand how the plant really is operating, and then update our consent and apply for it. On that basis, we are highly confident we'll get it. But it doesn't make any sense to be continuing with the consent when there's question marks over the performance of the plant. I think we've got enough time to tidy that up. So I think that's a laid out path in front of us.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any further questions? I'm going to put the recommendation then. So all those in favour?
Could I just...
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it, Colin.
Could I something about the data. Would that be all right? Can you still hear me all right? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Cool. All right, just turn my video off to see if that helps in its signal. The other point that Michelle's making, and I'm sure all the councillors are well aware, is that one of the significant problems we have out there at both Titahi Bay and the plant is the transparency of the information on the performance of the plant and the water quality conditions in the bay itself. And as part of this review, we've committed to working with Michelle and Marie to make sure we understand exactly what they're looking for, and then making sure that we transparently provide all that data in as close as real time as we possibly can. Now that's dependent on an upgrade of our website and some of the later in the year, but we'll try and keep that improving in the meantime. But one of her criticism is the slowness of how we collect data and it gets up in front of the community and the public. And we've made a decision after exploring all sorts of other opportunities that we'll just do that through the Wellington Water and Porirua and Wellington City Council websites. It's the easiest way to do it. And so I think it's really important that you keep us to account of making sure that program of work is improved, because there's no way we'll build trust with that community until that data is transparent, Mr. Chair. So it's just something to keep a regular update on at these meetings, I think.
Okay, I'm now going to put the recommendations I started. All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Okay, thank you, Colin. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Colin. You can disappear and enjoy whatever you're doing, and we'll look forward to hearing from you next time. Okay, we'll now go to 6.1. This is the landfill financial report from 1st of July to the 31st. To the end of 30th of September. I'll move the report, and if there is a seconder, Councillor Hayward, thank you. Mayor, you are not allowed to. You could put your hand up. Councillor Hayward, so it's open now for discussion. Or, sorry, David, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a note, it's only the first quarter, so the results are fairly unremarkable at this stage. I've made a couple of notes about some variances which have arisen, but other than that, it's, as I say, unremarkable.
Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, talking about those couple of notes that you've made there, the other controllable costs, Meridian charges increased 70,000 a month. If it's a controllable cost, how are we going to control that?
By controllable costs, we're talking about that category of costs which we have some operational influence over, as in controllable. I believe it's 70k per month, not as an increase, but the average charge.
Oh, I see. Great. And just one other question was the Spicer landfill. Page 1112, odour complaints. Has the sludge problem at the treatment plant that led to extra bin loads going to Spicer caused those odour complaints?
Councillor, that's skipping forward, I think, to 6.2 on the agenda. Yeah.
I'll hold that.
I was just going to say. Okay, so are there any questions on the financials? On that report, then I'll put the report. All those in favour, been moved and second. All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Now we'll go to 6.2. It's the Landfill Joint Committee report, and Mr. Down again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll take the report as read. There's a couple of things I want to point out. I have just spotted that the purpose of the report includes an update on the alternative daily cover, which I haven't actually included. At the time of writing this, we were still organising for equipment and resource, etc. But just for a verbal update on that, we do expect the alternative daily cover to commence in operation from the 1st of December. And the other thing I did want to comment on is that the odour complaints is reported in the body of the report. I noted 42 for the quarter. If you're looking at the KPIs for the quarter from the landfill, you'll notice that there's a total of 44. Just wanting to explain the discrepancy there is that all complaints received by Greater Wellington are reported through to our operator, EnviroWaste, EnviroWaste actually had a couple more reported directly to them. So hence they have 44 sitting in their database. For the purposes of the report, though, I include only those which are reported directly to Greater Wellington, as they are the ones that count in regard to the resource consent monitoring. Other than that, Mr Chair, open for questions.
Open for Councillor Leggett. I'll second. Sorry, did I get a second for the? Yes, I did. I didn't. Councillor Hayward, thank you. The clock back. Councillor Leggett.
David, are there any updates on the odour sources that you refer to in here, particularly the wastewater lines or the dead-end wastewater lines? Has anything happened in that area subsequent to this being written?
No, Councillor, subsequent to this report, Wellington Water have received a request from me to do gas detection on about 5 lines, and they have that with their alliance team at the moment.
Can I ask a question?
Councillor Duncan. Yeah, answer your question now.
I've got a question, yeah. Has that sludge problem been affected by the extra bin loads that we're having to take up there since it's wet going on?
Yep, so we have had about 10 extra skips of sludge delivered over the last 3 weeks, and I think the last one would have been last week. So that's actually outside of the reporting period here. However, we don't seem to have received any increase in odour complaints in the last month. But as I say, I'll be reporting on that back next time.
Just one further question. In 6.3 report, it says that the sludge is going to Silverstream. It isn't, is it?
No, we did undertake a trial with one skip bin. We have a setup at Spicer whereby the truck can back up, tip the skip, and there's a chute. That's been formed especially at Spicer to make it easy for the operator. We did try and take one skip over to Silverstream, and it was jolly inconvenient, so we gave up that altogether.
Councillor Foon, you have a question?
Yeah, just on page 13, I just want to know how you explain that massive growth in waste coming to Spicer, to your community.
Yes, Councillor, if you have a look at the graph there, you'll see that there was quite a substantial increase in around the beginning of 2018. That does relate to a carrier, a waste collector bringing in waste from outside the region, which we hadn't had beforehand. So that was a fairly marked sort of a jump in the graph there going back. There is a very large spike, as you can see, late 2016, which I've been told is a result of the flooding event that we had with a great deal of demolition and damaged material being brought in. Since just going back to the 2018 increase, the overall trend as a rolling trend that you're seeing there generally relates to growth.
Okay, thank you. And do you have, I mean, I know I've asked this before, but just in terms of ETS, like what's your offset costs for that and projected?
Yeah,
I know it's not part of this report, but it would be great to see it.
Yeah, Mr Chair, a couple of reports ago I dropped in a trend of our ETS. I'm very happy to do that again for next time. The answer to the question is in the last financial year, I think our ETS liability was in the order of 2.1 million. However, that was on a carbon credit unit price of about $35. We are now, well, we had just have purchased a year's worth of carbon credits at, from memory, $68 per unit. So the trend in terms of ETS charge is literally just escalating and escalating. Yeah. What I can do for the next report, Mr Chair, is bring that ETS graph up to date.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You find any more? You right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So being no further questions. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hayward.
Kia ora, mātua hea mana. My question was actually on the table again. This actually pertains to the there was a point regarding the expectation of a slight drop off on collections because of the mini lockdown in August. And my reading of the data here shows that there wasn't really an appreciable rebound in the bounce, neither in that instance or either really in the March major lockdown. It kind of seemed to have reverted back to a trend line that was consistent with that time period. Would that be accurate in saying so?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. One of the things that happened one of the things expected to happen post 2020 lockdown is the commercial rates increasing. However, Waste Management reported back to us month after month that the commercial pickup in their region had never fully recovered. They were still 25% down for some weeks after the lockdown actually came off. And this is, I think, generally showing what's happened to working from home. The places where waste is being disposed of is just generally moved around a bit. Following the short lockdown we had earlier this year, we had experienced a slight, some of a bounce back, but again, not a full bounce back, as you say.
Once up. So I'm assuming that as we get more and more data as going forward, we'll be able to ascertain whether or not this recovery in terms of the difference is coming in. Otherwise, I would be very interested to know why there would be a deviation from what would be the trend if we haven't had that bounce back occur.
I just want to make an offer, Mr. Chair. This graph is a very long-term one, and one of the difficulties with it is that if we're looking at, say, a 6-month period, it's hard to define that on this graph. Can I offer that next report, I add a second graph to here, which looks at the last 6 months, and perhaps get some deductions from there about what has occurred after each of the last 2 lockdowns?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
A little bit more fine-grained.
Okay, being no further questions. Oh, your hand's up. Councillor.
Yeah, kia ora. Just quickly on the H&S health and safety, just noting the risks around the petrol drums. Just how is that being mitigated in the future? Because it almost read like, was someone actually in control at the tip face at that time, and is that normal practice? And then just to comment and ask a question on health and safety, last time felt a bit worrying with the bulldozer incident, but do you feel like we've got good controls in place so that those types of things don't happen again?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just on that last question, we do have very good health and safety practices at the landfill, and considering what a dangerous and risky environment it is, I think that by and large our incidences are fairly well controlled. With regard to the petrol drum drop-off, yes, there is manned presence at the tip face from EnviroWaste all the time. I'm not sure exactly what happened in this instance, but perhaps someone just dropped off some oil drums when they weren't being watched.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Aye. Carried. Okay, I'll now move into public excluded as for the reasons set out in the order paper. So public excluded. A seconder for that, thank Councillor Duncan, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried.
So